This is the fifth and final step for the project. Um, Apparently, some people celebrate something called the Super Bowl, and my downstairs neighbors think it's an important thing to do, and it's really messing with my juju. So bear with me. I'm sorry if the audio quality isn't as high as it ought to be, but I think that you'll be able to bear with it and get the information that you need out of this video. So in this video, you should have your piece all glued together. There's one more step that everyone needs to do, and I refer to it as rounding the corners. In rounding the corners, I want you to make 3 new inventive shapes. Now, these shapes are not triangles and they're not trapezoids per se. They're more like the quartile here. So I want you to find negative space and I want you to fill that space with the quartile. I've identified a few spots on here that I would like to add, and I'm going to go ahead and do that. Before you get started, I want to, remember I have an extra one of these. Before we get started, I want to remind you that this dimension is 2 inches, this dimension is 2 inches, and so is this one. But what is not 2 inches is the height to the bottom. And that really comes into account when you're dealing with a trapezoidal shape. So here is a trapezoidal shape. If I take this triangle and I slide it up, you'll see that it actually hangs out the bottom. It's not the same height. What is the same is if I take this shape and turn it like that, because they're the same height. What I mean by that is when you made these shapes, you didn't have to move your compass, but this time you might have to move your compass. It'll be either 2 inches or it'll be a little shorter than 2 inches. So keep that in mind. One of the shapes that I want to make is I want to put a little block in here, and I'm going to round it from there to there. But this height is less than 2 inches. So I'm going to take my compass and I'm going to literally measure that space with my compass. And if I can't get my compass in there, I can also use a ruler, which I'm going to have to do. So I've got my ruler, and I am measuring 1 3/4 inches. You might get a different measurement. So just be aware that as you're making the shapes, they need to be designed and built to the measurement of the space that they need to fill. So think about what you want to build. Don't just jump into it blindly. Think about what you want to build and start measuring and planning it out. I would like to see you make some rounded shapes like this quartile. Okay? We need to do this 3 times. You can, of course, do more than 3 times, but 3 times. Find 3 spots where you can put in a new shape. Here we are. The Super Bowl party downstairs is getting louder and more obnoxious, but I have something to show you. This is the planer net that I was working on. Now, your planer nets won't necessarily look like this, but this is what mine looks like. I do want to point out with my shape, this height here, the height is 2 inches, but the width is less than 2 inches. So that ended up for me being 1.75 inches. So you'll have to figure that out. So this triangle is also was 1.75 inches up and 1.75 inches down, but 2 inches wide. So it is not an equilateral triangle in this instance. But I wanted a radius, so I made that radius happen. Okay, so here we have the finished product, my finished product at least. If you can see, oh my God. She just grabbed my leg and climbed up it like a tree. Anyway, Dilly, the finished product. As you can see, I added 3 rounded shapes. Let's see. This is one. It's the first one I made. The second one that I made is this one here. Now, I made a perfect sort of like partial circle, but come on. All right. All right. Ah. Okay, so I made this partial circle, and this distance from there to there is 2 inches, and this distance from here to here is less than 2 inches. So it didn't turn out to fit perfectly. And I knew that was going to happen, but I decided to go with it anyway. I'm just playing up that little edge there. And then the third rounded shape is I made a trapezoid and tacked it on the end. But the trapezoid has this rounded surface on the one end. So now what you need to do is complete your project. And as soon as you have it done, post this on your Instagram. This will be your third post. And take photos of it from all directions, all angles. Now, I want you to imagine that your form doesn't have a top and it doesn't have a bottom. So that means it can be positioned in any way. And when you photograph it, I want a minimum of 4 photographs from 4 different angles or 4 different positions of the form. Turn that in, and you are done with this project. I hope you enjoy the project. It can be tricky at times, but ultimately, I think it turned out pretty well. And I look forward to seeing what you guys have to turn in.